Reforged or Stormgate, what was worse? Let's watch the video why Stormgate failed. I think it's safe to say they did fail. 1,000 players at launch was bad. I don't think they will recover from that. Obviously, I wish all the people working on them all the best, but that launch was not great for a reason. We played the campaign here, and that didn't intrigue us to play more. And I guess a couple of other mistakes have happened before. So we watch this a little bit, and then we'll see what's up in the Warcraft world. In worst case, I play a game myself. But this is a video why Stormgate failed by Wimpy.
In early 2024, Frost Giant, an independent studio, raised more than $2 million on Kickstarter for its upcoming real-time strategy game, Stormgate. Fast forward to 2025, and Tim Morton, the studio's CEO, announced that the company is not getting the sales that they had hoped for, and several employees are already looking for their next gig. How do you go from next-gen RTS hype to searching for a lifeline in 2 years? Short answer, overpromising, under-delivering, and burning time on resets. But to get the full story...
Yep, that's a good and fair summary, I would say. Overpromising and under-delivering is what I would summarize this as well.
We have to go quite a few years back. Okay, maybe not quite that far back. To understand Stormgate's hype, you have to understand StarCraft 2. It was the long-awaited sequel to one of the most influential RTS games ever, and its competitive scene helped Twitch take off and made esports mainstream outside of Korea. However, in October of 2020, Activision Blizzard put StarCraft 2 into maintenance mode. The StarCraft 2 community was smaller than its peak, but there still was a tight-knit group of fans. Sensing an opportunity, Tim Morton, who had just left Blizzard, and Tim Campbell, who had departed much earlier in 2004, founded Frost Giant Studios later that year. Their pitch? Build a modern RTS in the spirit of Blizzard's classics. And by 2022, they had raised $35 million from venture capital. Early messaging by Frost Giant described the game as the first truly social RTS, with co-op modes, integrated esports, and competitive multiplayer with team battles.
We gotta say though that at the time, venture capital was crazy for games and relatively easy to get. And basically, right after they announced, that changed completely. It took an entire 180. Getting any venture capital was pretty much impossible. And that was probably not what they planned.
Literally every part of the game is meant to provide a more social experience.
That's very funny, by the way, because there is no chat in the game.
Morton famously said in an interview in 2022. Tim Morton also wasn't shy talking about his prior experience building StarCraft 2. However, in actuality, he joined Blizzard in 2014, 4 years after StarCraft 2 was originally released. He was production lead for the final expansion pack and some of the smaller content DLCs thereafter, but holding up StarCraft 2 as his prior game during Kickstarter pitches and investor decks was definitely a stretch.
Another new game announcement. We're going to announce a brand new game and universe from a new team of legendary developers. Check this out.
Stormgate's first big public showing came at Summer Game Fest 2022 with a cinematic trailer. In the trailer, a female protagonist is researching some ancient artifacts when she suddenly gets overrun by a horde of demons.
Okay, so up until that point, everybody was pretty much on the Stormgate hype train. Of course, a couple of skeptics that don't want their original game to die, etc. But there was so much goodwill everybody wanted to see a new cool RTS. And the people that went public for some media were likable. And of course, they promised a lot, as game developers do, as we now know. This was the reveal. This wasn't like great, but we didn't see anything of the game, so people were still like, oh, okay, let it slip. I still want to know how much this cost, and they never used this ever again. Which is also funny.
Also joined by Frost Giants president and game director Tim Campbell, here to tell us exactly how Storm...
Holy shit, that PC game show was so bad. I remember streaming this. It was so bad and so cringe in a not bad, funny, good way. It was so bad.
It will delight all minds, artificial or otherwise.
Then came PC Gaming Show 2023, where Frost Giant revealed the first in-game footage.
That killed all the hype.
It looked a little rough, but most viewers gave it a pass since it was pre-alpha footage. Though, the bright, cartoonish visuals drew some side-eyes for looking a bit too Fortnite and not enough StarCraft.
What you've seen today is just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more in store. We're going to be revealing a bunch of stuff about Stormgate the rest of this year. We're introducing new modes. We have a 3-player versus AI cooperative mode. We have team-based competitive modes. We're going to be sharing information about our storyline and campaign.
So most of what he said never made it to the game.
By December 2023, expectations and hype reached a peak. Frost Giant took the stage at the Game Awards with a new cinematic, which was later revealed to have cost $650,000.
What?
The response?
No. Oh my god, really?
Revealed to have cost $650,000.
It's a lot of money.
The response? Lukewarm at best. Criticisms around the art style being overwatchy, mobile gamey, and lacking grit was getting louder.
Our vision is to make the most fun RTS of all time. And to us, that means a lot of different things. First, it starts with core gameplay. We're opening up the RTS experience to new players through new modes, new ways of playing. Whether you...
Okay, let's see. Campaign, 1 to 3 players, no co-op campaign. So scratch 3 players. Co-op, not part of the release, right? Not really. Competitive, no 3 and 3. Custom games, I don't want to say the editor is anything great.
like story, or you enjoy cooperative experiences, or you want to get right into ladder and play hardcore competitive, we have content for you in Stormgate.
December 2023 also marked the launch of Frost Giant's Kickstarter campaign. Stormgate is fully funded to release. The message was clear, this money wasn't to finish the game, it was for stretch goals, collector editions, and beta access.
This will backfire so hard.
The core funding, they claimed, was secured. However, later Frost Giant clarified fully funded to release actually meant fully funded to early access.
Oops, we just forgot 2 words. We just forgot 2 words in the Kickstarter. That must have slipped, you know, there's so many people working on stuff. It's just 2 words missing. Oops.
0.0, not to the polished RTS they had been describing. That subtle change in definition was the first major credibility crack. The campaign absolutely crushed it and hit $100,000 in just 15 minutes and ended at $2.4 million. But that still wasn't enough. Venture capital for games had dried up, and so Frost Giant turned to yet another crowdfunding platform, Start Engine. This time, fans could buy actual shares in the studio, which Frost Giant declared to be worth $150 million at that
Wow. Funding goal 15K to 5 million. That's like the ISP technician coming between. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there between Monday and Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Somewhat around that time.
Point. The investor deck they presented was optimistic to the point of absurd. For example, they told investors Stormgate would capture 50% of StarCraft 2's launch numbers.
Optimistic to the point of absurd. It's a nice way to put this. Holy shit. 50% of Wings of Liberty. How many are those?
Because many of our team members worked on StarCraft 2. They called Wings.
Oh man, how many are those? How many active users did Wings of Liberty have? There are no official publicly released active user counts for. What's up, this Nairo? Sales. Wings of Liberty sold over 1 million copies on its first day, 1.5 million within 48 hours, and over 3 million in the first month. So they were valuating this with 1.5 million active users. Monthly active. Not copies sold. But I mean, if you sell a copy, you are like, if you sell 3 million copies in the first month, I assume that everybody who buys a copy will be active in that month. So that's the minimum, right? It's also at the same time the maximum. But they didn't say in which time period. 12 month post early access. It doesn't matter. Like, what are we talking about here? 1.5 million. How many monthly active users does Dota 2 have? Dota, okay, that's peak viewers. Where's the Mao? That would be somewhat below Dota 2 then. Last 30 days, 500,000 more or less. So they wanted to be 3 times better than Dota 2. Okay.
Our prior product. Again, Morton wasn't even at Blizzard when Wings of Liberty released. Even stranger, they justified revenue projections by citing mobile.
I don't think they were talking about SE2 release time. I mean, they say Wings of Liberty. No, they say Wings of Liberty. StarCraft right now is Legacy of the Void. Wings of Liberty is release StarCraft. Wings of Liberty is released StarCraft.
Again, Morton wasn't even at Blizzard when Wings of Liberty released. Even stranger, they justified revenue projections by citing mobile strategy titles. Clash of Clans, Rise of Kingdoms, State of Survival. Those audiences have nothing to do with PC RTS. It was a best case fantasy scenario dressed up as market analysis. The filings also revealed the financial reality. Frostgiant had burned through over $23 million, had about $6 million left, and auditors openly questioned whether they could continue as a going concern. Translation, unless something massively changed, they were running out of money fast. What makes this worse is where the money was going. Frostgiant proudly announced that they had hired a real archaeologist to advise the lore. They also brought on a senior VP of licensing and IP expansion whose mandate was to explore figurines, films, and merchandising. This was long before they had a finished campaign, but the leadership seemed more focused on making Stormgate into a franchise than finishing the actual game. August 2024.
Yeah, that's a bad look. When did they hire these people? 2023. That was probably when things were still somewhat alright. And these people were let go relatively fast, right? I don't know. I don't criticize them. I don't know what they paid for them. But thinking ahead and thinking big is not necessarily that bad.
But the leadership seemed more focused on making Stormgate into a franchise than finishing the actual game. August 2024. Stormgate hit early access on Steam.
I remember that, man. It was Rara Land in Dortmund. And I obviously had no time. But I had, like... It was a super busy day. I was flying through the venue. And then at some point, I was like, oh my god, shit, we're gonna miss the launch. It's gonna be disastrous. We're gonna miss the launch. And then I looked, and they had like 4K concurrent viewers or something. Really, really, really bad. It's like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about that. Let's finish Rara Land.
Frostgiant had spent heavily on sponsored streamers and Twitch drops to drive interest. They got the eyeballs, but what players and viewers got was a half-finished game. Multiplayer was bare bones, and the campaign was stiff, awkwardly written, and littered with placeholder art. The reception was...
It's so fascinating that they released 2 bad campaigns. As people who worked on the Rexar campaign. Mental to me.
Brutal. Steam reviews said it mixed, and content creators didn't seem impressed by the state of the campaign or the game in general either.
Yeah, like overall, I would rate the game, I would rate Stormgate pretty low. I'd probably give it like a 1 or a 2 out of 10.
And this is the son of a C-level person at Frostgiant. He's rating the product of basically his mom 1 to 2 out of 10. That's crazy. I mean, he's not wrong. He's right. He's right. But yeah.
It is very, very, very unfinished from campaign to co-op to just literally the factions that you play in one-on-one.
Frostgiant admitted later that the campaign was so bad it had to be rebuilt from the ground up. That meant chunking months of work, including around half an hour of cinematics.
Jesus, I forgot.
That meant chunking months of work, including around half...
I forgot this. I forgot. What the hell were they thinking? These mini cinematics, by the way, completely missing from the new campaign. So sad.
half an hour of cinematics and wasting millions in development time. They didn't simply iterate here, they started over. The early access release felt rushed and incomplete, and from the 2024 financial filings, we later learned why that was the case. Frost Giant drew down a $2 million loan from Silicon Valley Bank, and by releasing early access when they did, they were able to delay having to pay it back. As the negative Steam reviews kept pouring in, Tim Morton had a creative idea to turn the ship around.
Oh my god, this probably flew under like a lot of people's radar. Like, not only was the product bad, also the handling of things were really atrocious, unfortunately.
He, alongside several other key employees, wrote positive Steam reviews and got busted in the process.
Yeah, man. Imagine!
Daryl, Frost Giant's communications director, explained that these were just a few employees independently reviewing the game and that there was no call from leadership to do so, despite the CEO also being involved in it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and then they said, yeah, unfortunately our CEO is currently affected by the California wildfires that were running at the same time, but he'll make a statement once he's back. So that, of course, happening. Super shit. But guess what? He never commented on it. Oops.
Then on Reddit, a user account called Tim Morton posted a glowing comment praising the campaign. When called out, the several years old account was quickly deleted. Most likely explanation? Tim thought he was signed into a different account. And some extremely positive voices, of course, got immediately suspected of being under Tim's control. But now we're venturing into conspiracy territory, so let's move on. In any case, the distrust in Frost Giant and its leadership grew day by day. And speaking of distrust, Stormgate's Steam page briefly carried an ad for a third-party software that supposedly could help you improve your ping in Stormgate and other games. This violated Steam guidelines, but it's also just a really bad look to advertise some questionable game booster software, especially when your game is supposed to be able to run smoothly irregardless of ping.
Oh, that's so true! Oh my god, dude! You're advertising the entire time best tick rate, best feeling, rollback, revolutionary, play my game, it feels so good, it feels so crisp. And then, oh my god.
Thanks to its rollback technology. Gerald promised a blog post explaining it all in detail, but we're still waiting for that to this day. Frost Giant, with Tim Morton leading the charge, burned all the community goodwill with questionable actions such as these. In July...
Yeah, so if you go to like the Stormgate subreddit now, or at the release of the game, there's a lot of people criticizing it. And then there's a lot of people saying like it's just toxic for the sake of being toxic and they want to see the game fail. And it's just classic for the RTS community that they don't want anything new. Thank you, Mr. Knaga and Tipat for the subs. I don't think so, man. Looking back at the release of Stormgate, the entire RTS scene was jubileeing. The StarCraft people were hopeful, the Warcraft people were hopeful, the Age of Empires people were hopeful, and everybody was like, okay, this could unite us all. How good would have been? It's not that the entire scene is like super skeptic of new shit. I think a lot of people want new shit. And it's also somewhat true that everybody just wants their shit new. Like the Warcraft people want a new Warcraft game, the StarCraft people don't want a new Warcraft game, but a new StarCraft game, etc., etc. That's also true to a degree. But till the first gameplay release, everybody was hyped and hopeful and had a lot of good things to say and were pretty, even a bit fanboy-y of the Frost Giant team. And I don't exclude myself there. So to say everybody wanted to see this fail from launch on, it's not true. And then they did this bunch of shit and was just displayed in the video. And then of course there's not much goodwill left from the community.
2025, Frost Giant announced that Stormgate was leaving early access. Initially this was advertised as version 0.6, but when the community pointed out how confusing it would be to launch with anything other than 1.0, Frost Giant backpedaled and dropped version numbers completely in favor of opaque codenames.
At this point, whatever.
The reality was pretty clear. The game was still incomplete. The only thing they considered done was the rework campaign and 1v1. Out of the promised team modes, only co-op existed, but even that had been frozen with earlier versions of now reworked units. The editor wasn't finished either. Social features, the main selling point, simply didn't exist at all. The first truly social RTS was a 1v1 ladder and a half-baked campaign.
Oh, Jesus. The zoom in. Mwah. Maybe that changed, but I don't know. Last time I played, when you are in a lobby of a one-on-one game, let's say you want to play against your friend, there's no chat to say, like, go. You can check a box to say that you're ready, but you can't chat in the game, except the in-game chat, I guess, when you're actually in a one-on-one game. But literally no part of this game is social.
And speaking of the campaign, the already short campaign was for some reason split into 3 separate DLCs, each containing just 3 missions and priced at $10. On the Steam page they then advertised 3 bundles, Basic for $25, Deluxe for $40 and Ultimate for $64. Where this gets confusing is that neither the $25 Basic nor the $40 Deluxe bundle actually contained all 3 campaign DLCs. Only the $64 Ultimate bundle contained the entire campaign. To get the DLCs at the advertised price of $10 per 3 missions, you had to buy them through the in-game store that was only visible after starting the game. Yet another unforced error that made this launch confusing. Steam reviews still hovered in the 50 to 55% positive range, and content creators reviewing the campaign echoed that sentiment strongly.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad. They got the feedback. They've known from Heart of the Swarm. They have known for 12 years that having a giant laser beam solve your problems in RTS is not what people want.
Stormgate's campaign launched with audio bugs, gameplay bugs, mislabeled achievements, boring and unoriginal dialogue and storytelling, missions so easy that you barely had to play to beat them, even on the hardest difficulty, and just one of the most disappointing endings that I've played in a video game ever.
Only IGN.
Dude, it was so funny. I played the campaign, and after each segment that I played, I watched the playthrough of Grant, the first dude you saw there. Excellent content creator, love that guy. And it was the same verbatim, like almost 1-for-1. And like you start into the campaign and you're like, okay, let's see, new RTS campaign. RTS campaigns can be fun, right? And then you're like 5 minutes in and all you can do is like approach this with a bunch of irony and ridicule and try to make fun of that. That's the fun, I guess.
And for reasons that remain questionable, gave the game an 8 out of 10. Morton seized on that immediately, insisting, "We delivered an 8 out of 10 rated game with the content we promised."
Yeah, everybody knows IGN ratings don't do anything, right? Like everybody knows that, everybody is aware. And I think they got like 2 reviews or something, this is one of them. And they keep on quoting that. So, yeah. Everybody knows IGN. Like, IGN never gives anything lower than a 7, I think. They got an 8.
"We delivered an 8 out of 10 rated game with the content we promised."
Yeah, that made me mad a little bit reading this. We delivered an 8 out of 10 rated game with the content we promised. They promised co-op campaign, not in a well-polished co-op mode, not in. 3-in-3 game mode, not in. Working editor, not in. Esports circuit, not in. Like, nothing is in this except one-on-one in campaign. Like, how can you go public and say this?
Whether you like story or you enjoy quality experiences or you want to get right into ladder and play hardcore competitive, we have content for you in Stormgate.
We have content for you in Stormgate.
Well, it's excellently done.
In actuality, I don't think anyone was happy with the state Stormgate was released in, and once again the financial reality was coming crushing down on Tim Morton and his team. The financial filings showed that at the end of 2024, Frost Giant was basically down to their last penny with only $25,000 remaining in their war chest. They somehow...
Yeah, let's be honest, they had no other chance. They had no other option. They probably, like, just releasing this because they have to is one thing. Like, fuck, it sucks. Sucks for the people working there. Sucks for the people who have to or who wanted to consume a great game but now have to consume this if they want to get their Kickstarter's money's worth, for example. But then going public and brazenly saying we delivered what we promised, that's just shitty, man.
Now managed to get additional investments from Bitcraft Ventures, which is how they managed to survive the first half of 2025, but with funds running out, they were forced to release what they had. After the launch, Morton admitted that sales and concurrency were below expectations. He said he was looking for a publisher to partner with and hinted at possible layoffs, and then followed up with several more posts where he spoke of Stormgate in the past tense. Bitcraft and other investors may have kept Frost Giant alive longer than expected, but the fundamental problem never changed. They burned goodwill, burned money, and failed to deliver the product they pitched. Stormgate was supposed to be the RTS revival. Instead, it's a case study in how not to spend $40 million. They promised next-gen RTS, funded until release, and the first social RTS. They delivered a half-baked campaign, missing features, sock puppet reviews, and financial filings warning of collapse instead. So, was it all just a scam? No, I don't think Tim Morton set out to defraud investors or milk the community.
Yeah, I agree.
He had a grandiose vision and either underestimated the work or assumed more funding would arrive.
Yeah, as I said, like, venture capital completely disappeared from the gaming sphere when they started. I don't think they meant any harm and they meant any... I don't think they had a malicious intent at all. They probably had the same great vision because they clearly love RTS games like the most people did. But then money dried up and they were forced to do stuff they didn't want to do. But still, some of the public behavior is that it doesn't matter. That's just not great. That's just shitty. Maybe it was like the stress getting to them or them being also a bit disappointed in themselves or whatever. But yeah, it's like, to me, if it's just the game release, I'm like, yeah, shit happens. Sad. But it's really the behavior afterwards that hits me the wrong way.
Instead of building a standout campaign with real lore and using that to fund the rest, they built thin versions of everything at once. 1v1, campaign, co-op, 3v3, and none of it impressed. The game that was meant to save and revive RTS has become its own cautionary tale.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad.
Well done video, man. Well done. Shout out to Wimpy. That gets a thumbs up. Like the video, comment on the video. That person deserves it. Super well put together. Great summary. Didn't really miss much, except maybe the venture capital overall disappearing. which puts this thing in a bit of a perspective. But yeah, I think the debate we gotta have is Reforged or Stormgate, what was worse?